I love it really big. Big enough to make everything slow. I want to see those spell effects frame by frame. Pound your ram against my gate. Run me over with your huge battle group. I don't want any tactics. Hit me straight.
Now, whilst it's easy for her to make Battlegroup warfare sound exciting, as we all know, the reality is often far from it. Today's Battlegroups still primarily focus on taking keeps and towers, and when fights do occur in open field, it's simply two Zergs running head on into each other. Over time, if you look at the quality of 8v8 action, or even solo fights, there has been a clear evolution of concepts as players try to obtain that next small advantage. I mean, in today's game, we're getting bards hitting block reactionary styles in 8v8, yet Zergs are still pretty much acting the same way they always have done. With Battlegroups, we still have just one big blob of players, with the current top level strategy being repetitive and predictable loops before fighting.
You play like shit!
Patience, Pills Power. We'll get onto that. So let's look at how Zerg warfare never really evolved and what would make it more dynamic. Head-on fights are the natural outcome of two battle groups being stuck to their leader before an engagement starts. However, just having one angle of attack is an increasingly poor choice as the numbers increase. Frontal fights maximize the amount of people being interrupted and increase the effectiveness of area effect spells through creating crowd control choke points. Yes, it's the natural outcome, but I'm astounded that nobody's stopping to think, hey, this is pretty dumb. Why are battle group leaders the leader? In many aspects of life, leaders are the ones perceived to have the best vision, experience, or competence. However, in Dark Age, it's typically those who are online most and have enough patience to consistently organize. Patience and persistence as a personality trait, mixed with the effects of people logging off whenever a fight is lost, results in a very risk-averse battle group approach. This is possibly the worst conditions for ingenuity and innovation. Finally, there is a perception that numbers are everything. This creates a doom cycle of believing that the enemy is superior due to higher numbers, and an unwillingness to take fights if you are the smaller force. Like many medieval battles, the first few moments of combat are critical, and the first step backwards typically results in a brutal rout and chase down.
What do you want from me?
I'm glad you asked that, Pills. Let's look at how better tactics could resolve this situation. Splitting up your battle group should often be the key to defeating larger forces that have worse organisation. Firstly, with the player numbers Eden is currently pulling, the client simply can't handle large-scale warfare. That's reason number one why Zergs need to evolve. However, I've already made a video about it so we can move on. We're all familiar with how a tower or keep take looks like. One ram on the gate and a large fan of players half AFK waiting for the door to be broken down. This is problematic if there's an enemy battle group in the area, since it's much easier to hit a stationary mass of players. The obvious question is, in this situation, why aren't forces split up? From the early ages of military history, it was established that when you have a slow or stationary army, there would be various levels of protection surrounding it, whether that's vanguards, rearguards, or even mounted and skirmishing forces. Taking that a step further, if you know that there will be an enemy battle group incoming to a tower, it makes absolute sense to have half your forces in reserve waiting elsewhere. Once the enemy moves in, your own forces push from behind. This fixes the current problem of defenders almost always losing once they're trapped inside a tower or central keep, and almost certainly makes numbers far less relevant. But what about open field fights? We mentioned earlier that Dark Age mechanics really don't support fighting at just one angle. A few players can interrupt the majority of the enemy front line, whilst smaller surface area creates choke points where melee can't be effective. With in-combat and out-of-combat run speed being so different, it's also a critical factor in securing kills and not allowing the enemy to react. Once you bring these two principles together, it's obvious that hitting enemies from the side and rear once they're already engaged has to be the main objective for any open field large scale battle. Yet we see very little evidence of leaders splitting up their forces and trying to make this a reality. Take your standard battle group, divide it into three, have the main force be resilient, able to tank, yet also slowly kite the enemy with CC. Have your second and third forces slightly smaller, yet with speed 6 and high damage. If you want, you can think of these guys as the special forces or the knights on horseback. Delegate command whilst retaining overall control. Have the second and third BG always be out of clip range, yet retain an overall sense of where the main BG is. When the main BG engages, the job of the second and third BG is to hit the enemy whilst their speed is already broken, and quickly kill before there can be a reaction. So what are the barriers to making this a reality? Well, this all takes more effort and organisation, and BGs often catch players who fall through the net of more competitive playstyles. It's often a lot easier to chalk up losses to unfair numbers, or perceived realm imbalance, rather than taking an introspective look at what could have been done differently. However, with most battle groups now being on Discord, I think there's definitely potential for the required amount of organisation to emerge. Ultimately though, I think Eden will need to give that first helping hand, coming up with systems to require battle groups to split up their forces and take secondary objectives. This will make the game more strategic, increase engagement and participation from the average player, whilst hopefully saving the Dark Age client from consistently having 500 people on screen. Anyway, I hope this helps start a discussion, and if you enjoy topics like this, please let me know.